Hi everyone, Carolyn Peeler with you today in Ellen Hudson's classroom, and I'm delighted to share the second in my series of watercolor flower painting. On this painting, I'm going to be showing you some blue delphiniums, and I'm also going to have some samples of other colors as well. To get started, I'm going to take the brown watercolor and paint the stem of my flower. For my watercolors, I am using the Prima Confections and the Classics. You'll see I drew that line and then I turned my paper upside down. That's because where my brush first touched the paper, that's where the darkest part of my stem is going to be. And it gets lighter towards the end of my line, and I wanted the lighter part of that stem at the top of my flower. Now I am prepping the colors that I'm going to use. I'm using the cobalt blue color and also the purple on the flower, and I'm using a large round brush. As you can see now, I'm adding the petals along the side of the stem on either side. Some of them are right beside each other and some are a little bit offset. This is a flower technique that the more you practice it, the more you do it, the more natural it's going to come to you to build this flower up. And it's actually fairly easy to do. This one actually is easier than the rose tutorial that I posted 2 weeks ago. It's really pretty. Now here you can see I thought that the pigment was a little dark on the bottom of the flower, so I used my paper towel, and you can see there that there was a portion with that purple that was already wet, and it was the damp, that wet part of the towel that I touched to the watercolor to just sort of lift some of that pigment up. So I started with the purple, and now I'm coming in and I'm adding some of this cobalt blue onto the purple so that I get this really nice depth of color and variation, so that there's parts of it that look a little bit more blue and parts that look a little bit more purple. It's a beautiful, beautiful set of colors, this one. I quite like it. And so yeah, that's how I'm building this flower. And I'm going to go ahead and show you here. I did 2 other samples. Same flower, same technique. And I have a pink and violet one, and then I also have a yellow, and I also put some orange and brown in it, so it's kind of a mustardy flower. Those are both made with the same palette of colors, both with the Classics sets by Prima. And so you're able to get, with this one technique, you can do a whole bunch of different colors of flowers. It looks great. Now that we have the flower made, we're going to go ahead and put together our card. I'm using the Essentials by Ellen Fancy Thanks stamp set by Julie Ebersole, and I'm using the Just a Note stamp along with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. It's probably my favorite black ink for typing little sentiments on cards. So I've stamped that directly underneath the flower. Now I'm taking just a piece of white cardstock that I've cut to size, folding it in half to make my card base. And for the paper, I'm using this really beautiful navy paper from the Jen Hadfield Do-It-Yourself Home Collection. That's a Pebbles paper collection. So I have this navy and white stripe that's going to go along the left-hand side of the card. And then I also have a dictionary page, and that is simply taken from an old dictionary. I went to a thrift shop and I bought it. It was like this honkin' humongous huge dictionary, and I bought it, and I use the pages from time to time, and it's a really nice sort of neutral option for putting together paper projects. So I've got this page, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it on, but you'll see, I'm not sure if you'll see exactly when I'm putting this down or not, but I ended up actually, there was a little tear at the bottom of it. So you're going to see in my next step that I'm going to go ahead and actually replace it, because I ended up not wanting that little tear at the bottom to be visible, because it sort of just detracted from the card. So here it is. I'm showing you I've got a little tear in it, and that was no good for me. So I've cut another piece of dictionary paper that I'm going to put on top. But I also decided that I did not like the way that everything was lining up, that I felt like it needed another element to it. So I've also cut a piece of the Jen Hadfield Homemade Do-It-Yourself Home gold foil paper, and that's a 12 by 12 sheet that you purchase. And I've cut a little strip of that. So I'm going to glue on the dictionary paper here, just over top of the other. I didn't bother pulling the other one up or using using a product to lift it or anything. I just put this second dictionary page right over the top, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this gold foil paper directly over top of the dictionary paper, and it's also going to overlap a tiny bit onto the navy and white stripe. But this is really nice, and it added that one thing that I thought the card was missing. I thought it needed one more sort of visual pop, and this gold foil paper delivers fabulously on that. So once these are glued, I'm going to use my scissors and simply trim off the bottom there so that the papers are all flush. Now here you can see, after I had everything together and I laid my element on the front, I realized that it wasn't quite working scale-wise, so I trimmed off a little bit more of the paper on the right, and now I'm all happy. I've also added 3D foam squares to the back of this stamped element. I felt like having the visual depth, once again, just added a little bit more interest to the card and added that perfect finishing touch. So I've centered it there, stuck it on, and there you go. The card is done. It was actually fairly easy, quick process to put it together. So thank you for joining me today with the tutorial. If you have any questions about the painting technique, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to help you out. Thanks so much and have a great day. Happy creating!